Hey guys, welcome to the Skolo Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. If you're new to the channel and if you haven't subscribed yet, please click on the subscribe button at the bottom of the video that you're watching right now. It's that red button over there. Just click on it and turn on the notifications so that you'll be notified every time we produce a new video on this channel. We generally produce new videos on a Wednesday and on a Saturday, and sometimes only once a week. It depends really. Sometimes our videos are very long and we then only produce one video a week instead of two. All right. And if you're new to our channel as well, we always make sure that we give you all the information that you need to follow along with the videos that we produce. So at the bottom of the video, right next to where the description should be, there is a button over there that says shows more. You can click on it and it's going to expand the description. Okay. So if we discuss about, a link or, something that was, I say to you, I'm going to link it in the description below, you're going to find that link over there. All right. And for every video that we make as well, we have timestamps to help you navigate through our content a little bit better. As you can see, a lot of our videos are very, very long because we explain all of our concepts in great detail. Okay. So instead of watching the entire 3-hour video, you can just read through the timestamp and figure out which part of the video you want to see. Of course, you're welcome to watch the entire video, but if, for example, you're coming back and you wanted to remind yourself of something, you can use the timestamp. Okay. The way that timestamps work is if, for example, you want to, figure out, oh, this is how I want to do a tweet with an image, just click on the timestamp over there and it's going to fast forward and take you to that section that is talking about that. Okay. So this helps you navigate through the videos that we're making. Okay. You don't have to watch the entire video. Okay. So on the description as well, we will have links to our YouTube, Instagram, and all of that, so feel free to follow us on social media so that, you can learn more about Skolo Online. In this video, we are going to be discussing how to post images to your Instagram page using the Instagram Graph API. We've done a video on this channel where I showed you how to automate your Instagram, but we were using InstaPy, which is a library that was created that sort of crawls your Instagram page, logs in with like your own username and password, and sort of does things on your Instagram page that you want it to do. That's really aimed at increasing your engagement and sort of, commenting, following people, liking stuff. But I gave a disclaimer at the beginning of that video that that's dangerous. And when you use that, crawling of your Instagram page, you must do it with caution because it's not allowed. And in some cases, you can get yourself into trouble. Okay. If you don't want to do it that way, there is an Instagram API that are created, that you can access through your Facebook developer, tools. And it's similar to your Facebook, Graph API, but it's specifically for your Instagram page, and you can actually use that to engage with your Instagram page. Get statistics. You can use that to, post images, even post videos to your, IGTV. So it's actually very useful once you get to know how to use it, and it is an official. Facebook API, so you're not going to get blocked or anything like that. They do give limitations on, for example, how many posts you can automate per day. I think the max is 25. You can't do more than 25 automated posts per day. And the second limitation as well is that you can only use it on a business page. So you can't use this for your personal page. If you wanted to automate your personal page for your own posts, you might want to go back to that InstaPy and take your chances there. But if you have a business page or you're an influencer and you've got a content creator page, I think a professional page, you can use this API because it's really created for businesses who want to automate their engagement, because with a lot of businesses, you find that you have to go through the process of getting your post approved ahead of time. There's a whole, there's people that are involved in the marketing. There's a lot of stuff that is not personalized, that it's really business related, and they want to allow businesses to be able to automate that. Very similar to the video that we did last week on your Facebook page. We're going to do the exact same thing on the Instagram page. Okay. So I'm going to choose to work off the careers portal, page that we created last week. And so let's just get right to it and let me show you some code and some stuff and stop talking a little bit too much. Now, I wanted to, first of all, just start at the beginning by introducing you to this lecture through giving you the steps that we're going to follow, because it's very, very specific. And as usual, we're going to have video timestamps that will sort of mirror these steps, and you can always, skip ahead to a section that you want to focus on the video. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to connect the business page, Instagram business page, to Facebook. And I'm going to show you how to do this, because this is a crucial step in this process. You need to have an Instagram business page created, and then you need to connect that business page to a Facebook page. So this won't work if it's not connected. Okay, so there's that connectivity that's required. And if your page was not a business page when you created it the first time, when you do this connection, it will automatically upgrade it to a business page. So you don't have to worry about that. Then you need to have a developer account. You need to, so this I've already mentioned, you need to have a Facebook developer account, which is what we did last week, but I'll show you again quickly how to get to the Facebook developer page. And then obviously we need our access tokens. So access tokens is those sort of keys that you grab off the developer's account to enable you to interact. Okay, so obviously we're going to have to create an app, and so that we can generate those access tokens through the app, and that's how we're going to be able to work with this. This is similar to if you are used to Twitter automation, to your API keys and all of that. So that's similar to that, but they're called access tokens with Facebook. Then I'm going to show you, this is optional, but I'm going to show you how to create images on the fly. We did this a little bit last week, but we're going to do it again if, for example, you didn't watch last week's video and you just want to focus on the Instagram part, because I think it's a very useful skill or part of your code to create images that you're going to be posting on the fly, especially if you want to automate this process and you want to randomize what you're going to be posting, and you're not quite sure what you're going to be posting on a daily basis, but you want to create, for example, a branded template that you just populate with content on a regular basis. I'll show you how to do that. All right, and then those images that you're going to be posting on your Instagram, they need to be hosted online. So this works slightly different with the Twitter API. If you used that, where you could have the images on your computer and you just have to have the path to the image, because the image actually gets sent through as it is. The way the Graph API works is that you need to actually host that image on a public server where Instagram can access it, and then you just sort of give them that location like an HTTP server. And what they do is that they perform a curl request on that image, and they get it or download it from that server at the time that you post it online. Okay, so you need to have a separate image server that you're posting or you're saving your images to. So that's the tricky part as well, and probably why a lot of people don't use this. Okay, but it's actually not that complicated. If you have a virtual private server, and if you have a an online you have like a hosting provider, you can actually do this very, very easily. And we did it last week, okay? And I'll probably just refer you to last week's video for the setup of that, because it's not complicated if you have a VPS and you've got a hosting service to just host your images online, okay? Then we're gonna send the post. This is the hard part. Sending the post actually is just like 1 or 2 lines of code to send the image to Instagram. Once you have all your keys and once you have the image that you want to send, your access tokens, and then you hosted your image online, to send it is actually like a very simple step. Okay, so this is what we're going to follow in this lecture today, guys. So I hope you watch it through the end, because you're going to learn a lot of stuff. And this is what services like Hootsuite and Later do. Okay, so if you learn the skills and you're really smart about it, you can actually build your own service for doing this for other people. You can actually start your own digital marketing company where you serve clients. They give you posts on a monthly basis. You automate it for them, and you charge them money for it, and you can make money doing this. So this skill that I'm teaching you is not just to simplify your life, because digital marketing and advertising on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is becoming very, very popular. And if you have a digital marketing company and you wanna sort of schedule posts for people and they give it to you, and instead of hiring 10 interns to sit there scheduling stuff daily, or paying Hootsuite however money you're paying Hootsuite every month, if you learned the skills, that money you could keep for yourself and actually just do this as a business for people. So this, what I'm teaching you today, is actually a marketable monetizable skill, which I do sometimes actually charge people to do this for them. And you can too, all right? So stick to the end and learn the skills, and you can then, sort of adapt the code to suit yourself, but the basic skills I will show you here today. So let's get started with our business page, okay? So that's the first thing that we're going to do. We need to start by connecting our business page to Facebook, all right? So for that, I'm assuming that you already have an Instagram page. Okay, I'm not going to take you through the process of creating an Instagram page. That's very simple. Just go to instagram.com, create a page. When you create it the first time, it doesn't have to be a business page. It could just be a normal page, because when you connect it to your Facebook page, then it will be upgraded to a business page. So go and do that. I'm not going to take you through that process, but I will take you through the process of connecting it to your Facebook page. So this is our Facebook page, which we've created. We've been working with this Facebook page for a while now. The video we did last week, I showed you how to automate these posts on Facebook. If you look at the timeline now, I actually haven't been on this page since last week, but as you can see, that last 22 hours there was a post. Last 20 hours, so I'm sort of posting every other 4 hours or so. You can see the posts are coming on a regular basis, 13 hours. So the posts, obviously overnight, I don't post at night, and then I'm going to post again in the morning. So the next post is going to be soon around 8 o'clock. Let me refresh. Maybe it's come out already. Between 8 and 8:30 should be like the morning post that comes through. There it is, 21 minutes ago. It's the post that has the image. And this image, what I showed you last week, we created it on the fly. We have a random list of quotes. And then we have templates that we sort of just randomize the template and randomize the post. And every day it's a different code, it's a different template, and it looks like a whole brand new code for the people that are watching on the timeline. Of course, the theme is the same. I've maintained the theme so that it looks like it's branded with Careers Portal colors and things like that. But actually, the code itself is different, and the template, even though it's branded, is a slightly different design to create that unique feel that doesn't look like you're just copying and pasting for your users. All right. So this came out 21 minutes ago. I was sitting right here. It's just automated. Okay. So the video that I did last week, I'll show you exactly how to do this for your Facebook page. So all these posts are automated. They come out regularly on a schedule on the thing. So now when you get here, what you need to do is that you need to connect your Instagram. And this, Facebook changes all the time. Every time I come here, this is different, okay? So I need to find where I need to connect this. I think I need to go to the settings, all right? So this is assuming you've already built your Instagram page, right? You go to your settings, and I think somewhere on your settings, at the bottom there is Instagram, okay? Yeah, there you go. Page settings and then Instagram, okay? So you click on Instagram over there, and then it'll before you created it, there would be an option, a button here that says connect Instagram page, all right? So you would click on that button there and go through the process. It'll ask you to log in and do a lot of other things, but this is where you would do it. So I think I've already done it, and you'll see that it's connected. And if it's connected successfully, when you come here, you will see that Instagram logo at the top, and you'll see the page, the Careers Portal page, or whatever page it is that you're connecting to, and you can disconnect at the bottom there. All right. So because I've already connected it, there is no connect button. But when you come here for the first time, you will see it, and it's not complicated to go through it and connect it. It will just ask you to log in, and then it will say, do you wanna, if your Instagram page is not a business page, it would ask you to convert it to a business page. You need to go to this developers.facebook.com. If you come here for the first time, it will ask you to create a developer's account. It's going to be connected to your actual Facebook account, so you need to have a base Facebook account, obviously. All right. It's on the Facebook platform, I know, but we know Instagram is owned by Facebook. You have to access the developer's account through the Facebook platform. And once you've done that, you need to create an app through the Facebook developer's account. Then on that app, that is where you are going to access the Instagram API. I know it doesn't make sense, right? You would think that there would be a Instagram developers page. No, you would access it through the Facebook developers page, create a Facebook app, and then within that Facebook app, we are going to add permissions to manage our Instagram page. Okay, and then that Instagram page must be connected to your Facebook page like that, okay? You need to go to the top there and go to your apps where it says my apps, okay? So I'm going to click on that on my apps, all right? When you get here, we're going to assume that you don't have an app. You have to go through the process of creating an app, okay? If you don't know how to do that, the video that we did last week, we went in detail through the process of creating an app, okay? I'm not going to go through that process now because I've already created an app and I don't want to create another one. But you need to go through the process of creating an app. Okay, I watched the video last week. You don't have to go through the permissions of getting your app approved and blah, blah, blah. That is only if you're creating an app that is going to be utilized by users other than yourself. So we're just going to go straight to the tools. All right, and if you go to tools, just hover over it before you click on it. Click on Graph API Explorer over there. All right. Under your apps over there, you'll see under Facebook app, there is a list of all the apps that you've got on Facebook, okay? You must pick the app that you want to work with from there, from that list, okay? And the app that we want to work with is Careers Portal. And if you recall, when we created this last week, we already using it to post automatically on our page, all right? And this is all the permissions that it has, all right? It has a page show list, it has a page read engagement and page manage posts. These are all the permissions that you need to be able to post automatically on your Facebook page, all right? So when you want to post on your Instagram page, okay, you use the exact same app. You don't have to create a different app for Instagram. You use the exact same app. The only thing that you're going to edit and modify is your permissions, all right? So that you can have the permissions that allow you to post to Instagram, okay? So we just need to now expand on our permissions to get the Instagram permissions of the same application that we created last week. Understand? So for you to continue properly with this video, it would be helpful to go back to the video we did last week and have a look at how we created that app over there and how we did the permissions over there. But if you're comfortable with creating apps and creating permissions, you can continue with us, all right? So you're going to go to the bottom over here under the options are selected for permissions, all right? And you're going to expand that list, and then you're going to look for the permissions that allow you to post to Instagram, okay? So I'm going to go to the bottom over there, and you go into other, because it's not obvious. If you just scroll over there, you won't see any Instagram permissions, and you would think they don't exist, right? I don't know why Facebook does this and hides stuff for us not to see it. You go to other, and the moment you open other, then you will see it right there, all right? Catalog management, that's for like, you know, your e-commerce, all right? This is very useful stuff. Like, do you know this exists here, right? There's Instagram basic, Instagram content published, Instagram manage comments, Instagram manage insights, leads retrieval, publish video, read insights, WhatsApp business management. Wow, okay, there's a lot you can do here. But what we want is the Instagram basic, all right? We want the Instagram content publish. We want the Instagram manage comments, which I don't think we're going to use anyway, but let's just click it. All right, so we can see comments on our Instagram, and I want to see some insights as well. All right, and then yeah, that's it. Okay, so these are all Instagram related permissions that we've added, and then that takes our options down to 7. All right, so let's get off of that, and you'll see those new permissions that you've added are shown in green. All right, the permissions that you had before are not in green. What this means is that these permissions haven't been approved yet. Okay, you've selected them, yeah, but they're not activated on your access token. All right, so your access token doesn't yet have that permission. So what we need to do is that we need to then generate an access token that has these permissions so that these can be approved. Okay, and in order to do that, we're going to click that button again. All right, and then this time it's going to take us to log into our Facebook. We're going to continue as we are. And then this time around, it's going to ask us, what Instagram business account did you want to use with this careers portal, okay? So I don't see the business account here. Okay, so our business, our careers portal, Instagram page doesn't appear on our list of business accounts, okay, which means it's not registering as a business account with Facebook. So there's a couple of things you can do to resolve this. I know I've already connected it from the Facebook page. What I did is that I went on my phone, because you can't do this on a online. I went to my phone, so you can find the Instagram app. And in the Instagram app itself, make sure you convert that account to an Instagram page. And the way you would do that, even though I can't show you on the screen, just, follow with me. If you have the Instagram app open, all right, you go to the Instagram app, you would log in with your careers portal, whatever page you want to convert into a business page. And then you would go to the profile, to your profile of that account. And once you reach the profile of that account, you go you click on the settings. At the top over there, yes, you open up the top over there and then you find the settings, and then you click on the settings, you go to your account settings, and under account settings, right at the bottom, there is the option to switch to business account. Okay, so do that. And then, what I did was I went to the bottom and I disconnected the account and then I reconnected it again. Because the first time I had connected it, I think because on the Instagram side, I had not set it to a business account. It didn't register as a business account on Facebook, even though on Facebook, I'm specifically connecting it to try and get it to be a business account. And trying to press that button that was here, that wasn't working, okay? So if you're having the same issues as me, just go make sure on your Instagram side, you have manually from the application itself declared your application as a business account. Then once you do that, if you had connected it before on the Facebook side, disconnected and connected again, you should see this, okay? No buttons, managing connected Instagram professional account like that, then you should be okay. Then I'm gonna go to my Graph Explorer, and I'm gonna, I don't think I need to refresh this page. I have my permissions at the bottom there, and then we're gonna go into generate access token. And this time we should be able to see our Instagram page on the Facebook side. So if you, let's just make this longer and you'll see there it is, okay? So that's the page we're looking for. Now we can see it, and then we're gonna go on next. What pages do you wanna use with that? It's that one, it's already been selected before. So then you're gonna get all of that, submit for login review. That's not necessary, just say done. It's not necessary because you're only gonna use this app for yourself, all right? You're not choosing it for clients. Then once you've done that, it takes a bit of time, but you'll see those permissions are no longer in green and they are now in, at the top, and that means that you got the proper access token, okay? So last week we worked a lot with the page access token, but this week we're gonna work with the user access token because that's how the Instagram API works, okay? So let's just go a little bit through the documentation and just show you, so if you just hover over docs from the same page that you're at, you will see at the top there is Instagram API, Instagram platform, okay? Just open that in a new tab so that we can just go through the documentation. You can see the kind of code that you need to be writing. All right, so this is the Instagram API, the Instagram Graph API. When you have time, go and read through it, all right? So what we're looking for is getting started, all right? And I'll just take you through the getting started. They're just showing you everything we've done here already. Obviously, asking for the permissions and logging in and getting the access tokens, all right? So that's what we've done, all right? So getting the users pages, all of this is not necessary, okay? The only thing that we need to do over here is that we need to be able to do anything on the Instagram side. You need what they call the IG user ID. Okay, they call it the Instagram user ID. It's the user ID that you pass every time to to the API whenever you want to do anything. Okay, so it's like your username, but like sort of in a number, tokenized in a way. So in order to get that, we need to do a post, a GET request on this URL, okay? And keep in mind the version 10, and this is where you would put your page ID. So you can just read at the top over there. This is where you put your page ID, and then you would request Instagram business account access, and then you would enter your access token, okay? And the access token that you enter over here, it needs to be the user access token, okay? So that's the access token that we can get directly from our from our API Explorer, okay? So let's just have a look at this. Let's just copy it as it is. All right, I'm gonna copy it as it is, and then I'm gonna go to my favorite. I like to do this off Postman. Okay, now last week, if you don't have Postman, I have a link in the description from last week's video where you can go and download Postman directly from their website, okay? But it's just postman.com. And this is really a good API Explorer type, tool that I use a lot. Okay, you can use the one on the Facebook page, but this one for me works a little bit better, right? Because it just really helps you, work with a lot of the variables that go into the URLs and so forth. You can see the moment you paste that URL in there, make sure you remove the air quotes, the quotes from it. And then once you've done that, you'll see then that the keys that need to go into the parameters is the field, but that's already filled in for you, so you don't need to change that. And then the second parameter that needs to go in there is the access token. This is your user access token. But you'll see the URL as it is. They've already entered a number over there, okay? This number is the page ID, all right? So you need to replace this number with your own page ID from the Facebook page that you're trying to access. All right, so for us to do that, we need to go back to our Facebook page. All right, if you get back to your Facebook page, we're gonna go back to careers portal itself, and then we're gonna look for the page ID. Okay, the page ID, remember, you go into more, you go into the about of the page. Okay, so let me just go to the bottom there and look for about. You go to the about, and at the bottom of the about, you will see the page ID over there. Okay, so this is the number that you need. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that page ID, and then I'm going to go back to, and then you need to replace this number over there with that page ID, okay, with your own page ID. So you need to do this for yourself and get your page ID from your Facebook page and replace that in there. Then once you've done that, you need then the access token, okay? So you'll see it over here. It's the same one on the URL. It's the same one here. So you can update it over here, and it will change on the URL as well. This is why I like to use Postman. Postman is just easy to navigate, okay? So you need to go and get your user access token of your Graph API. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to make sure that it's the user token that's selected, and then it's been generated. So I'm just going to copy it as it is, and then I'm going to go in there, and then I'm going to paste it. Okay, so once I've pasted my user access token, I should be able to run this request, and it's a GET request. Let's just make sure of that. Where are we? It's supposed to be a GET request. All right, and so let's just run it. There you go. And when you run it, you'll get you'll get returned the Instagram business account, and obviously this ID that gets that at the bottom here is the same ID as your page number, right? It's the 107 and ends with the 81. It's that number over there, and this is the business account number that you want to work with. Okay, so going forward, we are going to be using this number every time we are setting up a every time we send any request to Instagram, we're gonna need this. This is what they call the Instagram user ID. So if you go over there, this is the IG user ID, and you'll see a lot of the URLs have the IG user ID, on it. Right. So you can already use the user ID over there. You can test that it works. Okay, by running this request over there, where you are requesting all the media that's available on your page. Okay, I'm not going to do that because I'm sure it's going to work. You need to go to guides, and then you need to look for content publishing. All right, but then let's just make sure this is the right page. I think that's the one, but don't worry about this. I'm going to again link this in the description below, so that you can be able to find it yourself, because it's a bit tricky navigating this API. But what you're looking for is the content publishing, which is under the guides. All right, so when you get here, there's a lot of things, and read through it. And again, there's a couple of things that I've already mentioned. First of all, you have a limit as to how many posts you can schedule. So you won't be able to just schedule every 10 minutes a post to go out on your Instagram. You're limited to 25 API posts per day, per 24-hour cycle. And this excludes posts which you post manually. So if you go to your Instagram page yourself right now and you manually upload a post, it's not included in the 25. But within the API daily, you can only post 25 posts a day. All right, and I think 25 is enough. That's more than one post per hour. And I don't know why you would want, anybody would need more than that, okay? And then you'll see these are all the different endpoints that you're going to be working with on the Instagram API. The first one is the media one. And the way the media update works is that you, first of all, you send a request, you create a media object container by sending a post request to this URL, okay? Then once you've done that, then you publish. Once you get the, when they return to you the container number or the ID, you use that in the second one, right? So there's like, you're going to do this in 2 steps. Unlike with the Facebook API, where you could do this in just one post API call, in this specific one, you need 2 steps. But I'm going to take you through it because the documentation is actually a bit tricky. If you read this documentation, it took me a bit of troubleshooting to get through it because this documentation doesn't tell you everything. You'll see at the top here where it says access tokens, where it says all requests must include the user access token. Can you see that, right? It says that right at the top. But if you look at the bottom and you look at the current examples, if you're like a beginner and you go through this, you'll see this, this is the curl example. If you just copied and pasted this curl example, the sample request, it's not going to work because this sample request doesn't actually include the access token. So you have to actually include the access token in the curl request, and the documentation doesn't have an actual example that shows you that included, and that's where I think a lot of people are going to get thrown off. But don't worry, I'm going to take you through it right now. So let's look for, so as usual, what you need is a URL where your photo is located, okay, like that. And then we're going to do this sample request, okay? So I'm just going to copy this, all right, as it is. So this is the sample request for initially sending, remember I told you there are 2 steps. So the first one is to send it to the media endpoint, and then you'll get returned an object container number, ID number, and then you're going to use that to on the second request, okay? So let's start with the first one. So I'm going to open a new, and then I'm going to make sure I make this a post request, and then I'm going to just paste that in there. And you'll see that you have to work this URL a little bit. So at the top there, I'm just going to make sure that I have HTTPS, all right? And then just remove these dots over there. All right, and then you'll see at the top there, this is that Instagram user page number, so it's that IG user ID, all right? So that IG user ID, it's this one that we got over there when we did the call the first time, all right? So you just copy that like that, and you paste it in here. All right. So once you've pasted that in there, then you have a look at, if you look at the parameters over there, the first parameter that's included is the image URL, okay? And the image URL is where your image is located, all right? And then the second one is if you have any caption that you want to include in there, and it needs to be included in sort of like, what they call like, URL encoded, okay? So we need an image URL. For that, I just quickly created one. It's this one over here. This is where we're going to be hosting our images. We created this location, this domain last week when we did the video on Facebook, because Facebook requires you to do the same thing. So we're just going to work off the same domain. So basically what we did is that we managed to create a folder in our virtual private server where in that folder, we hosted that entire folder over HTTPS port 80 using Jinx, okay? So the steps to follow to do that is in last week's video. We're not going to do that again. But in that folder, whatever image you save in that folder, you can basically host it over that HTTPS URL, okay? So if you create an image in there, like we created an image and you just called it cp output.jpg, that's all you have to call it. Therefore, and if you host that entire folder, that means that if you go to that URL location or the server where that folder is hosted and you slash the name of the image, you're going to find that image that you're hosting. It's basically that easy, but all the steps are in last week's video. So what I did, I just added another image quickly to that folder, and then this is that image there, and this is the image that we want to send onto Instagram. And one thing that is different from this week to last week was that last week we could use the same image name in our code. We're always replacing that image with a different one, but we never changed the name of the image, and that worked fine with Facebook. I checked it every time; it would find the latest image. But with the Instagram API, it doesn't work as well. It still finds the image, but it looks like it doesn't refresh its cookies, or it doesn't like always look for the latest image. It sort of like relies on browser saved information, which means if the first time I create this image and I don't change the name, and that's the image that I create, and I put another image in the same location with the same name, Instagram is gonna still find the old image because it looks like it doesn't refresh its browser history. So every time it just goes, it looks at what was previously saved in that location. So with the Instagram API, we're going to do something different this week, where every time we create an image, we're going to change the file name, because if we keep the same file name, we're not going to be able to find the new image every time like we did with Facebook. But if that's confusing you, don't worry, you will see it when we get to the code. But so basically just copy that URL, okay, and I've pasted it down there. And then the caption, I've changed that as well to say what I want to say, okay? And if you want to work off Postman, you can use this website I found, URL Encoder. Okay, it's an online URL encoder. You just type in what you want to say at the top, and so that it encodes it for you in URL format. And then that's what came up. Okay, so the website is urlencoder.org, and then you get it like that. But this is not going to be necessary for when we are coding this with Python, because with Python we're just going to do it in JSON. All right. The reason why I'm showing you this is because I want to first of all test the code of Postman, and then once I've tested the code of Postman, like sending a proper curl request, once I know that the code works of Postman, then we're gonna write the code in Python. And we write the code in Python. We're not gonna use URL encoders because we're not gonna send it in that method. We're gonna send it with a JSON, okay? So, but anyway, if you entered your URL encoded message on the caption, is going to look like that. I've just pasted it in there. And this is where the documentation goes sideways, okay? If you look at the documentation over here and you look at the actual sample request which is sent to you by Facebook, you will, on Instagram, you'll see it's just giving you it's giving you only two parameters. It's giving you the image URL and the caption, and it say just send it like that. But this is not going to work because, first of all, if you're a programmer and you just look at this from a just common sense point of view, how would Facebook know that I am the correct person that's authorized to be able to send posts on this page ID? Because technically, a page ID is not a key, okay? It's something which even other people can probably find. Like, now you've seen my page ID. Does it mean that if you have my page ID forever, you're going to be able to post items on my page, okay? So this URL doesn't have like a key, doesn't have, like a sort of a secret that you're sending with it to verify to Facebook that you are the owner of this page. And so this is actually wrong. What's missing of this sample request is the access token. You need to enter the access token, and this is the user access token, so that obviously the URL, the API can verify that this user with that access token has the permission to post on this page ID. And that's how they're going to verify your request, okay? And this is not in the documentation. Even though they mentioned it at the top there that everything must be sent, it's not included in the sample code. And if you're just used to copying sample code, you're going to miss that point. So make sure that you include the access token, and I've added it just at the end of everything that I'm sending, okay? So once you've added, but the order shouldn't matter anyway, all right? So once you've done that, and this access token is the user access token that you get over there, and make sure it hasn't expired, you have to use this within the hour. Let us send the request and test it out. Okay, that took a little bit of time, but if you're working with Postman, you'll see at the top there, it says 200 status, which means that the request went well, and you don't get an error message returned, you actually get a number, okay? So your image is not visible on Instagram yet at this point, because you are actually doing just the first step, okay? So the first step over here is the one where you just send the image to get what they call a media object container. So what you need to do next is to send the second request, which now you will include that ID, that creation ID. So this ID that you're getting here is a creation ID. All right. So you've created the object container for Instagram to be able to then find your image. So you need to send the second request with that object container so that it actually gets posted to Instagram. So let us copy this again, just as it is. All right. and we're going to open another post, on postman, another post request, and we're going to just paste that in there, and let's just fix it up a little bit as usual. All right, and then once we've done that, we're going to just take this out. All right, and then remember this must be your page ID, so I can actually just copy it off of, actually I'm not going to copy it off of there, let's copy it off of here, the page ID to be the correct one, not the one that came with the URL. So we're going to copy that page ID there, paste it, and then you'll see the creation ID. Now you can see it, you can actually edit it there. All right, so this creation ID, it needs to be the ID that you just received over there. Okay, so we're going to copy that creation ID, and then we're going to paste it at the top there. And then remember again, this is not going to work if you don't include the access token, which is not in the the sample code. But you're just going to copy that access token and paste it in there. You can paste it right at the end, and then I'm just going to copy my access token and paste it. All right, so I've pasted my access token. I have done the creation ID, and now we are going to push this, post it to Instagram, and then this is what will cause our post to go live. There you go. So if you get a 200 status okay, everything is good, okay? And you can just go to your Instagram to double check if that post that you just created is there. Just keep in mind, this is the image that we're trying to post, okay? This is the image that you were born to win, to be a winner. And this is the URL, this is the caption that should go with that image, all right? So let me see if I've got an Instagram page open somewhere. Let's just open one over there. All right, and then I'm just going to go to my careers portal page, to my profile. It's a fairly new profile, but you'll see this is we just posted this now. Okay, if you click on it, you will see this is Careers Portal South Africa, job search, online, wara wara. This is what we had over there, hiring now. This is what is shown over there, and this is the image that we wanted to post. So basically, this is how you post on your Instagram using the API. But obviously, this is not the point of this lecture, because the point of this lecture is to use Python to do this. Because if you have to go through the steps that I've gone through to do this manually, it's just easier to do it off the Instagram app, isn't it? So we want to be able to do this off of Python, so that we can automate the process and we can have the code posting for us every day, every other day, scheduled images that we're just going to save in there, and then we can like sit back for like a month and just let this post on our behalf. All right, so that's what we're doing. That's why we're doing this. So now that you see how it works, I always test an API initially with Postman so that I can see the endpoints, I can see what gets returned, I can see I can know how to pass that information when it comes back. For example, I need to now know, how does this come back, in what format, what does JSON look like, what must I call this, and then I can be able to then get that number to use it immediately in the program to do that next request, okay? So there are two things that you need to do. Let's go back to our list, all right? We've connected the business page. That took us a bit of time and some complication, but we've done that. We've gotten our user token and our Instagram user ID. That's the ID that we use to post to it. Okay, we've created an image with content, but we didn't do that programmatically. So that's what we're going to do now, where we are, we're going to do this step and that step together. We're going to host the image online, creating it programmatically so that we can, schedule posts into the future with Instagram. Okay, and for that, there's a couple of steps I need to cover all at once. Okay, the first step is creating this type of image. Okay, I'm showing you everything on Skolo Online. By the time you're done with this, you will know exactly how to do exactly what I'm showing you, because I'm going to show you every single step. There's no step that's hidden. I'm going to show you even where I got these things and how I created everything. Now, this image, it looks nice. It looks like a typical sort of like designed, something that was designed by a professional. But as you know, if you watch my videos a lot, I get a lot of my content from Envato Elements, okay? Because Envato Elements is very good with like, basic, generic, not generic, but like really good, well-designed, but stuff that you can almost, standardize and work with, and so you don't have to spend a lot of time, with hiring graphic designers and doing a lot of this work yourself. So getting this type of designs, I don't have the time to design this 20 times for 20 posts in a month. Okay, so what I do, I just go to Envato Elements, and I search at the top. You'll see over there, I just searched for Instagram posts. Okay, and then you'll see a lot of templates that you can use for Instagram posts on Envato Elements. Okay, when you come here, you can pay for a membership. I think it costs about $16 a month. That's if you pay for it annually. That's a very small price to pay, especially if you're going to do this as a business for clients. $16 a month, and you can get all the templates that you like, and then you can sort of do what I'm doing, what I'm showing you now, and you can almost have unique posts every time on your Instagram page that looks different, right? So what I would recommend you do is that if you come to Envato, you find maybe between 20 to 30 different designs, and that's not hard. Okay, but they must have a similar theme, because when you do this programmatically, you want things to look similar. All right, so what I've decided is that I'm going to go for white backgrounds, because I want to write with black text. Okay, so I'm gonna, in my program, I'm gonna write on the the design with black text, so it will help if the background is white. So I'm gonna go and look for all the designs that have a white background that work with what I want, okay, and sort of find them all. Like this one wouldn't work because it has a black background, but this would work because it has a white background. And this, for example, you can choose any theme that you want. You could, for example, choose stuff that has red background, and then you just have to make your text look proper for that red background. It can be black text for a red background. It's up to you. All right, so I've decided I'm going to go with white background. So once you do that, you go and you copy everyone that you want. Like I've selected this one over here, Beauty Flows, and then you download it. Okay, so when you download it with Envato Elements, you will see before you download the file formats that it comes in. All right, it will show you over there. It's AI and PSD. Okay, and you'll know that I don't even have Adobe Suite, because Adobe is really, really expensive, and it's meant for graphic designers, and it has so many features that you don't need. Okay, so I use Affinity. Okay, and Affinity, you can find it over here. Okay, Affinity Serif. All right, and Affinity is like, really, really cheap. And what I like about Affinity, unlike Adobe, Affinity has a lifetime membership. So you buy it once and that's it. You don't have to pay. You're not going to be paying a monthly or an annual fee. In fact, all the updates will be done automatically for you. Okay, you only buy it once and you pay a once-off fee. All right, and you'll see there's a discount right now. They're going for $4.79. You can get, there's 3 types of Affinity. You can get Publisher, you can get Affinity Photo, and you can get Affinity Designer. But the one that you want for what we're doing, Affinity Designer does a lot of the great stuff. Affinity Designer is good for designing this kind of graphics, but because we're not really going to be designing graphics, we are going to be editing graphics. So if you download something like this of Affinity, like that, of Envato, and it's already written beauty flowers and all sorts of things, that's not what you want to put on your Instagram. You want to write what you want to write. You want to write your own content. So you're going to need to edit this template. And because it comes in this type of format, AI and PSD, there's really no other way you can edit it except using something like Affinity to edit it. That's why, this is $4.79. It's not expensive. This is a once-off fee. You pay it off once and then it's done. And then you can, and what I like about Affinity as well is that if you don't have money, they have something like a 2-month trial period. It's like a really long trial for you to really test it out. So you can come over there, and I don't know how to access it, how I accessed it the first time, but if you're really interested and you end up not buying, then they'll give you the option, oh, do you want to try it out for like 3 months? And then they'll give you a trial key. And then you can then still download it and use a trial key, which will expire in like a month or 2 months. So you can test it, how it works within a trial period. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Either way, you need to find a way to edit the templates over here. I do know that they do have PowerPoint and sort of like Keynote templates, because if you go over there to the left hand side, you can see the applications that it's supported. You'll see that Adobe Photoshop has the most it has the most sort of templates. And Adobe Photoshop, you can open those files inside of Affinity. All right, Adobe Illustrator as well, you can open them inside of Affinity. In fact, you can open all of these files inside of Affinity, all right? But you might want, let's see, I think there is templates that you can find inside of PowerPoint. And I think you need to search for it inside of, not graphic templates, but you can search for it inside of presentation templates, yes. So if you search inside of presentation templates and you search enter, you will find Instagram posts, okay, like these ones, and they are Keynote and PowerPoint, like 200. But you can see sort of that you're very limited. Like this is only 157, 280 compared to the thousands and thousands in Affinity. And the ones in Photoshop look way better than these. And I'm sure everybody's gonna go for the easy stuff on Keynote, and then you're gonna find your template is not unique. Like I've already seen a lot of people using this other type of templates, whereas there's more variety. So I would, if over time, maybe I would start with this and then download this type of template and work off of this. But over time, if you have, money, just spend that 500 rands so you can work off the nice template. All right, so I think I've spent enough time on that. I've downloaded one of the templates, and then this is my Affinity Designer. I just want to show you over there. All right, this is my Affinity Designer, and what I've done on the template is that I have, why is this freezing on me now? It's really slow today. Okay, that's all right. Okay, there you go. So what I've done is that I've downloaded that template. Where is it? I've downloaded this template. I've opened it in Affinity, and I've deleted all the other stuff, and then I've left it blank like that. Okay, so I've replaced my website at the bottom and a title top, and I've left this whole middle of that template empty because I want to write content in here, whether I'm advertising a job. So all the stuff that I would have posted on Facebook, if there was a job, I would type that job in there. If it's a quotation, I would write it. Whatever the message I want to send across, I would type it in there, but I'll do it in Python programmatically. So I'm going to create this image programmatically inside of Python, okay? And I'm going to start off of these. So what you do, so I'm going to create this image, which is over here, programmatically. So I start with that template at the back, and then I add this text on it on the fly or on the go, okay? So what I recommend you do is that you go into Affinity, save about 10 or 20 different types of templates, save them like, create them like the way I've created. This one is just maybe the logo at the top, and maybe the website link, some, whatever it is, generic things, but leave the middle of the template open so that you can enter text programmatically. And that's what we're going to do next. Okay, we're going to create this image on the fly with a different text every time, and that's what we're going to be using to post on our Instagram page. Okay, step number 1, what are we going to write in here? Okay, so for what we're going to write in there, I'm going to go to Python. All right, I'm going to go to Python. And then I'm going to go into, this is my careers portal. If you've been following along with us, you'll see we've already done a lot of programming when we did the Facebook stuff, when we were scrapping the website. So we've got all the code for scrapping the website there, when we're getting all the job information that we post to Twitter. We already have Twitter going, we already got Facebook going. So the last part is to get Instagram going. So our Facebook posts, our Twitter posts, they're already on the way. So now to get, the content that we're going to be posting, we already have. We're going to be using the same content we're posting on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And where that content is inside of the data, if you've seen the other tutorials when we create this content, we've got content for Anglo jobs, all right? We've got content for government jobs. We've got content for MTN jobs, and we've got content for questions and quotes. Okay, so let's just do quotes for now, all right? So that I can just simplify this for people that are not interested in the other stuff, all right? So what you can do is that I've got like a long list of quotes, of interesting quotes, and every time I get a chance, I will add another quote onto it, and I'll just keep my own database of quotations that I'm going to be posting on my social media. And that's really good because then every day I'll just select from this list randomly, okay? So you can just create a JSON file, anywhere that you know where that JSON file is, all right? And inside of that JSON file, you're going to put in like a list. So you have like a, opening and closing square brackets. So the list starts over there and the list ends over there. So this is like in JSON format. And then in between there, you're going to put in all your codes inside of, quotation marks and then a comma, so that it's a list of strings. Okay, it's a list of strings, and inside of the strings you have all the quotations that you want to include. So you can do whatever the messages you want. Like if you had whatever your business was and the things that you want us to talk to your people about, you can do that. And this works also with if you have in some cases, it also works if you have, emojis. Okay, you can just copy and paste emojis in there. I mean, it's simple how I do emojis. There's a website I like, Emojipedia. All right, where I get my emojis from, and it's just free. You can come up here, and so this works with emojis as well. Let's say you find that emoji and you want to use like the the love emoji with smiling face. It always makes your message pop a little bit. You can just copy that and paste it over there, for example. All right, so you can have so this will inside of the JSON file, it will work, and it will also be translated in when you send it to Instagram, that emoji, if you code it properly. Okay, it will be decoded by Instagram. So I've done all of that. This is my list. I call it code tweets.json. All right, then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna save that. So once I've done that, I'm gonna write the code for creating that image. All right. So I've got two lists, okay, but let's just worry about one list for now. And the image that I'm talking about, the code template, is this template over here. This template. So once you've created a template like this, if you're working off of Designer, you can just export it. All right, and you export it as a JPG. What I like about Affinity Designer is that you can export all these formats, PNG, GIF, PSD, SVG, whatever. Okay, so you need to export it as a JPG because Instagram works only with JPG. So not to confuse things, always export it as JPG. And then once you've exported it, it will be an image, all right, and it will be a square image with nothing on the middle. And then you take this file and you save it inside of your virtual server or wherever it is you're running your code, okay? So I'm running my code off my virtual server, and then you save this file in your virtual server. In the previous videos, I've shown you how to move files from your personal computer to your virtual server. It's not complicated. You can Google it, use an rsync command, okay? Rsync, you save this file from your personal computer to your virtual server, right? So once I've saved it, this is the location where I've saved the file inside of my virtual server. So the code that I'm running it in my virtual server because I want it to run 24 hours a day. My virtual server is always running. I run the code in there. I run the code on a continuous basis on a schedule, and then it keeps running. So either way, when you do this kind of stuff, you are going to need a virtual server, okay? So this is the location, the absolute path in my virtual server where I saved that image, okay? And I created 5 different templates, okay? So I have template 1 up to 5. Over time, I'm going to extend this, okay? You want to get, the more templates you have, the more variety you will have, and the less likelihood that you will be posting the same image, because you don't want to bore your audience and you don't want to make it obvious that you're just scheduling stuff and sending them the same image every day. So you want to give them fresh stuff. If you have like 100 or 200, every time I have spare time, I go through Envato and I increase my template list, okay? So what you want is maybe 60 to 100 templates in here that you work with so that you have different designs, that you're showing to your people on a regular basis. Or, you could create this every month and create a new one for the month and then use them daily. It's up to you how you do this. But if you want to follow my method of, sort of like randomizing text on one type of a template, you want to have different designs behind you. Then once you've done this, this is the code that we're going to be working with, all right? There are a couple of things that we need, okay? We need IMGKit, okay? IMGKit is the magic of what we're doing here, all right? IMGKit is similar to PDFKit if you've worked with Python before. What IMGKit does is that it can convert an HTML file to an image. All right, so we are going to build an HTML file the way that we want it to look, and we're going to build it in HTML format, because with HTML you can space things out. You can say, I want a heading like that, I want space, I want this to be bold, I want to use this font over there, I want to put that image over there. So you can build something like this in HTML. If you know HTML very well, between HTML and CSS, you can build this in HTML, okay? But To save time, we've built the majority of it, and then we've just exported it as a JPG. And then we're going to use this as a background image in the HTML file. And then the only thing we'll have to worry about is to put text, which will be like a paragraph text, and we just have to position it properly that it ends up in the middle of this. But if you have time and you have a lot of HTML and CSS skills, you can build like you want an HTML sort of image, with the background that you want. You can build everything in HTML. And then what you need to do is then to export that HTML and build an image out of the HTML. And that image is the one that we're then going to send to Instagram. Okay, so in our case, we have just the background and we'll just be putting a text in there. So we are going to be using IMGKit to do that. All right, and then we're going to be using Ginger templating to do that. This just allows us to sort of pass variables into our HTML, and these are the main two things that you need. And I must mention that for IMGKit to work, you need to include something they call HTML to PDF. In the last week's video, I spent a little bit of time talking about it. I won't talk about it now in detail because you can just go watch it over there and see how we did it there, because you have to install that HTML to PDF, which is what IMGKit runs off, similar to PDFKit, okay? But the nice thing about it is that you only need to install it once. So if you followed our tutorial last week and you got your IMGKit to work last week, this week you don't have to worry because it's already installed in the machine. And inside even of your virtual environment, you'll just be able to work with it, okay? So, but if you're coming for the first time and you just found this video, maybe watch last week's video, especially the section where we are talking about IMGKit, to figure out how to install that properly, because it has a bit of tricky steps in there. Then, so this is the code for it, okay? So this is the HTML, okay? So we've written like HTML code in here. And inside of the HTML code, so basically if you look, this is just the top part where we're showing the styling. But if you just move over the styling for a little bit and look at the body, so you can just see this is very simple HTML, okay? Basically what we're doing with this HTML, we have a div container, which is that one over there. And in that container div, we have an image with, we have like an image as the background of this div container. All right, so we create a container and then we add an image in there. All right, so this image is going to be that image that we just created, which is the template. All right, and then if you look at the source of this image, it's this background image path, which is what we're going to be sending into this HTML using the context. That's why we need the Ginger too. All right, and this background image path, which is the content or the context that goes in there, is going to come from the random choice of the image list. So you're going to choose in this image list one image randomly to be the background image for our HTML, okay? So basically what we're doing is that we're doing an HTML container with a background image, okay? And you just make sure that the style is 100%, okay? And the class is container. So if you look at the class container, let me just have a look over there. Top right, font face. So this we haven't there's nothing that we're specifying in there for class container, and but nonetheless, this is the background image. And then once we do that, once we finish with that, then we have another div, and this div is a class bottom left. All right, and inside this div we just have one paragraph with a description, okay? And this description is what we pass over there as the message body. So the message body is this message that's going to go in here. So that's the only thing that we're passing into this HTML. We are passing the background image, and then we are passing the message that's going to be written. Obviously, if you have time, you can create more complex HTMLs. You can even have a heading, have a different color for the heading, a different color, a different font for all sorts of things. If you have time, you can really play around with this and create really unique HTMLs. But for us, for simplicity's sake, we just have the background image, and then we have the paragraph that goes in the middle over there. All right, so let's go back over there and see what we're doing for our styling. All right, so we basically have two types of classes over here. We have the bottom left, the top right we're not using. We used this last week when we are putting in the logo on the fly, but we got rid of that. We're not putting the logo on the fly anymore, but I'm just going to leave it there in case I want to reintroduce that in the future if I'm using a different type of a template. So bottom left is this bottom left over there. You'll see that's the position. So what we've done is that we position it from the bottom left. Okay, and it's up to you how you want to position it. You can position it from the bottom left, you can position it from the top left, but I think from the bottom left is better, because if it's short it will just be at the bottom there. If it's longer it will push upwards and upwards, all right, but it will always be the dimensions to the bottom left will always be maintained, but it's up to you whether you want to do it that way, you want to do it that way. And then you also want to test this out a couple of times to figure out what size font and sort of like type font you can be using for all of these to get your template come out quite right, to come out looking really good and professional. So I want it to be at the bottom left, and this is the spacing, and then that's the font size, and then I'm using this font family of Montserrat. Okay, if you don't specify the font family, we just use the default. But it's easy to get the font that you like, especially from Google, because you can just go Google Fonts and download a TTF file of the font that you want. And then the way you will describe it is that you will create the font face, and then you will name the font family Montserrat over there, and then you just specify the source URL for where you've saved that font inside of your virtual private server. So I've saved it in here under Skolo Fonts Montserrat TTF. And then if you wanted to use different fonts for different sections, you could do that. You could say you could have another font, and then bottom left you could use that font, and then top right you use a different font, and things like that. Then you can play around with this how you want. It's really up to you if you understand CSS and you want to be fancy. But I'm going to use just one font because I'm only typing one paragraph in here, and I'm going to use that font. And you have a line height over there and the color, and this way you can if you want to write with a different color, 000 is going to be black. All right, and this is the CSS, the little bit of CSS that I've written in here for that bottom left description. Okay, so we basically build an HTML object, all right, very simply with inside of a container, and this is the background image of that, and then this is the text that's going to be written in the front. Okay, that's very, very simple. So once you've done that, then you're gonna render this HTML, all right, using the environment which we imported from Ginger at the top over there, all right. So we're gonna render that from string HTML, all right. So you can render from string, from file. There's a lot of ways you can render, but we're doing it from string because it was easy to just type this over here. Okay, so we're gonna render from string, and then we need to put in the content. Okay. This content is the context of this way. It's going to get the image path and the description, which is what we've described at the top over there. Content is a dictionary object with the image path and the description. Okay, so that's what you enter in there, and then after that you open a file location. Okay, and this is where you need to include the encoding. This is very, very important, especially if you're going to have fancy things in there like emojis and stuff, or otherwise you're going to have an issue. You're going to just get an error, and then it's going to crash your program. So you should at least include that encoding in there. And then you write, then after you've opened that location as F, inside of that location, you're going to write that rendered output. Okay, that rendered output, you're going to write it in that location, and we'll see the HTML location that we've selected is defined at the top there. We're going to save this file under CP output HTML. Okay, and if you went to that HTML and you opened it, you would find this HTML like that, the way it is, all right? But that's not what we want, because we can't send an HTML file to Instagram. We need to send a JPG file to Instagram. So this is where IMGKit comes in. IMGKit then goes and transforms that HTML file that we just created, and it saves it as it transforms it from HTML to PDF, to IMG, all right? And that's what we're doing over here. It's just one line of code that does that, okay? So IMGKit from file, we need to get that HTML file, okay? And you need to obviously describe it as the absolute path URL of the file. And then the image location, you need to specify that image location. And this is where we're gonna do things slightly different. Instead of hard coding the image location, because we don't want to use the same location every time. With the HTML we can, but with the image we are gonna be changing the file name every time we do this, because with Instagram we found, when our testings have found that if you keep the same file name, it actually just doesn't refresh, and it uses the old file even after you've updated a new file content inside of the same file name. So I'm going to be changing the file name every time. So in this specific case, I'm going to enter the file location into the code, the image location, and that's the image location that's going to be outputted. So the file is going to be outputted in there. So when we output the file from this is the second part of the magic that we're doing. This location is going to be a location that we are serving in HTTPS. Remember, we have to create an HTTPS a server where we have all our images saved, okay? So that very same location where we created that HTTPS server is where we're going to be saving the images, okay? So the HTTP server is running, and we can just add new images as we go along, and provided the image is there, when Instagram looks for it, it will find it. So when we save that image, the location that we pick, it has to be inside of that same folder that we are serving over HTTP, all right? Then after we've done that, the options, okay? These options, copy and paste them exactly the way that I have it, okay? Very, very important if you don't want to have issues, okay? You must have this XVFB. You need to install this on your machine the first time. If you worked with us last week and you installed it already, you don't have to install it again because it's already installed. But if you're watching this video for the first time and you didn't see last week's video, go have a look at how to install XVFB. In fact, if you just look at the description from last week's video, I have the link over there with instructions on how to install this, okay? You need to make sure this is installed. And then you need to also make sure you have enabled local file access to none, or you're gonna have some issues as well, and all of this. So basically what I have in here, just have it as I have it, okay? Just take my word for it. Then once you've done that, then you need to specify the location, the message body, the code images, and then you can just run the function, okay? But before we run the functions, I'm gonna do something, because I already know that I've got this image, this quotes in here. All right, I'm going to find the code that I'm gonna send through. Okay, so let me have a look there. Okay. Let's say we want to send this code. Maybe let me just copy it. Let's see how the emoji comes out, right? All right. And then the image location, let's just use the same location. We're not gonna send this to Instagram as yet. And but I'm just going to show you how this code works to create this image. Remember, in this CP output JPG, let me just open the location for you. If you refresh, this is the image that's there right now. Okay, this is the one that we've sent to Instagram. So if we rerun this program, this image should change and this code should change. It should have the one with the emoji, which means that this image here will be replaced with a new image in the same location, because what this code is doing over here, at the end, it is creating a new IMG and putting it in that location. So the path, the physical path, or the absolute path to that location is this, okay, inside of my virtual private server. But this location, this whole images folder, this whole location is being served over HTTP under this server name, image.careers.co.za. So this entire server is serving that whole image file. That's why if we put any other file in here, you can see it over there. All right. So once we run this code, the file should have changed to be this other file that now will have this different text, and hopefully it will also have a different background image, because we're going to randomize again and select between the different background images that we've got. Okay. And so I'm going to copy this whole thing. Okay, because this is, I'm typing it in a text editor inside of my personal computer, but I need to run the code inside of my virtual server, all right? So I'm going to, I'm going to call it Instagram. Actually, let me, because I think I just recently ran this file, okay, when I was creating that image the last time. So let me remove the file that's there, all right? And then let's create a new one where we will paste the new content that we just updated, and we're going to paste that new content in there, and you'll see the emojis should be there. Okay, and then now we're going to run this file again, and to run it you just do Python and make sure you're inside of the virtual environment, and then we're going to run it. And if everything goes well and you don't have, you see this, if you see this, you know you're good. If you don't see this, you get an error message or some other stuff will pop up, and then you gotta fix it. If you're having issues, guys, leave me some comments below and I'll try and help you, because the first time I did this, I went through a lot of errors and a lot of issues to end up with the code that I've got right now. So lucky you, you should get a code that works fine. Okay, now if we go back to this location, now this image should have changed because we've just run the code again, and it should have, at least the text should be different in the background image. Okay, or maybe if it randomized and ended up with the same image. That's the problem with having a few images inside there. You could randomize and end up with the same image. But let's refresh. Okay, so the image is different. It found a different background image, and you'll see over there, all your dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. This is a new image. This is the new background that we're using. So you can use lots of different background images. These background images are the ones that are saved over here, right? Template 1 up to template 5. So you can create as many background images as you like. You can create like 100, 200, make them nice. You can be creative and do everything that you want, anything that you want. And then the text that goes in here as well, it's up to you what text you want to write in here. You could write a quote. In my specific case, because I'm doing job adverts, I'm going to be putting the job details in here every time. The specific, we're looking for whatever on the Anglo website, click on this URL to find it. I'm going to be doing a lot of that. It's up to you what you want to do, but this is basically how you create the image. So creating the image is just one half of the job, because this image URL is the one which goes in here, okay? But it's not as easy as you think, because you literally have to create it. And then after that, once you created this, the rest of the code is actually very, very simple, and that's what we're going to do next. Okay, we're now in the final stretch of this lecture. We're finishing off tying everything together that we've learned so far and putting it in a Python code that sort of does everything at the same time. So I'm going to take you through that very, very quickly. So I've written this function of camera to save you time. So I'm just going to take you through the code that I've written to be able to schedule a post on Instagram, including an image and everything that we've discussed, just putting it all together at once. So the first thing that you need to do is we're going to write a function, and we're going to call it a post Instagram quote. And then we're going to create an image name. Remember, we discussed that we're going to have to give each and every single image we create a different name. So we have to create the name as we're creating the image, so that that image is saved under a name that we know, so that when we send it to Instagram, we can give Instagram the name of that image. So we're going to use UUID, which is a unique ID sort of creator. The one that we will use is UUID, import UUID4, and you can quickly install it on your Python by using the commands pip install UUID, and then you can include at the top of the file over there from UUID import UUID4. And once you've imported UUID4, it creates like a unique long string of a couple of characters in there. And we're gonna just break it down and split it by the minus and take the fourth element in the split. And because we don't want a long name, and I think that's sufficient for the number of images we're gonna be creating. And then we're gonna call the image that. Okay, you can call it whatever you want, but make sure you can create a unique name for the image that you're creating. Okay. Then after that, then we have to specify the image location. And the image location, this is the absolute path in this virtual private server, or wherever it is you're working from, where you are going to save that image. Okay, so it's the same location we work with. This is the this folder, images folder, is a folder that we are serving over HTTPS. Remember, Instagram needs that image to be served over a public server, so that they can be able to download it using curl on their side. So we created an HTTP server, and we are serving this folder images. Okay, so we're gonna save this image in the same folder that we are serving over HTTP for Instagram to access. And you'll see once we get into that folder, the name of that image, we will get it from that image name once it's created over there. So we'll create the name, and then we will save that image under that name, and it will be a JPG image. Keep in mind that every time you work with Instagram, you want to work with JPG images, because Instagram doesn't take PNGs or any other sort of file format. Okay. Then once you've done that, we're going to get our tweets. All right, so this code tweets, this is that file over there with code tweets. This is the JSON file that I discussed, where we're going to have a list of strings. So this can be anything that you want. Okay, you can, whether if you're a company that has your content decided on a monthly basis and it's written somewhere, this is basically that. Okay, so in my case, I just want to include codes inside of my image, but you could include anything that you want. Okay, so this bit of code over here is just to determine what I'm going to be including inside of that image, and I'm going to call it I'm going to put it in that variable called code in my case. Okay, then once you've done that, we're going to do Instagram IMG. This is the function we just been discussing now, the create quote a function. It's inside of this Instagram IMG file. Okay, this is the file that we just went through now. So what you need to do is that you need to save that file in the same location as your main file is saved in, and then at the top over there, you're going to import it. Okay, so we're going to import it like that, and once you've imported it, then at the bottom there you can then call that import, and then call the function inside of that a file that you want to talk to. Okay, so the file that you want to talk to is create quote img, which is this file, which is this function over there, and this function takes in arguments, the message body. This message body can be anything you want. This is what you want to include in the image. The image list is the image list that you want to sort of go through, getting a random image from that list. Okay, and then the location is where that image is going to be saved at the end. The reason why we're now inputting the location as a variable is because this location is going to be different. It's going to be a variable location, because every time we're going to be deciding the file name, and every time you have a different file name over there, it's technically a different location. So this is basically all the arguments that we're putting into the functions. The code is that a message that's going to be included in that image. The list of image of templates that we're going to be selecting randomly from is that quote images, which is that list over there. And by the way, this can be, if you don't have to have it as a list, you can have it as just one template. It's up to you how you want to do it, but basically this is the template or the background image that's going to go into that HTML to create your final image. And then finally the image location is where that final image is going to be saved in, because you're going to need to be able to pass this image location to Instagram. So once you've done that, this one function alone is going to create that image for us. Okay, and then I've put just like a second sleep time in there. I don't think it's necessary, but I like to like have space between my code in case this takes a little bit longer to run. Then once you've done that, you're going to go into the second part of the function where we're actually now posting the image to Instagram. And remember, this is in two stages. But the first stage is where we are now, creating that what we call the creation ID. So that first URL that we need to post to. Okay. So that first URL that we need to post to is this URL over there. It's it's graph Facebook media. All right, and then inside of there, we're going to input our IG user ID. This is the same function. This is the same URL that we had inside of Postman the first time around. Okay, so if you look at our documentation, content publishing, this is that the first URL, the first step over there. Okay, so this is what we're doing this now in Python code format. Okay, so this is what it looks like if you write it off in Python. Okay, and remember, our user ID is saved inside of the config file, so you need to create a config file that is in the same sort of location and save your stuff in there. But it's up to you. I mean, if you're writing this code for yourself only, you could actually just input it manually. It's up to you. But basically over there, you need to input your Instagram user ID, which is the ID for the page that you're posting into. All right, and then you create that URL like that. And then you need to specify the image location. Now, when you send an image location to Instagram, this is that image location over there. It needs to be in a public server. Okay, so that is why our image location is this http image-careers-portal.co.za. If you recall, even from the last part of this lecture, this image folder that we are saving our image into is hosted, and it's hosted in this server image-careers-portal.co.za. We created this in the last video. Okay, so that is why we are calling this image location to send that to Instagram. Okay, so as soon as you save that image in there with that file name, you can pass the same file name and the same URL to Instagram, and Instagram will find that image, because the moment you create it inside that location. That location is hosted over HTTP. And if it's hosted over HTTP, if you give the same file name over that folder that's hosted, Instagram is going to be able to find it because it's now in a public server. That's why when you pass to Instagram, we use that URL instead of the physical location inside of the the absolute path in the VPS. I hope that makes sense. Okay, if it doesn't, guys, leave me questions in the comments below, and ask me questions, and I'll try and answer as much as possible to help you along. But basically, when you send the URL to Instagram, it needs to be in a publicly hosted server that is served over HTTP, and that's what we're doing over there. Then once you've done that, you've got your post URL, and then this is a payload. This payload is just quite similar to what we're doing over here. What we did before. This is that payload over there. It's the same payload that we're sending through. And remember, we have to include the access token, and then this access token is the user access token. Okay. And if you recall, if you watched last week's video, you would remember the discussion around access tokens. I don't want to spend too much time doing this in this video, but I will just do a high level discussion so that at least you know that you need to do something with regards to the access tokens. Remember, this is where we get our access token. We get it off the Graph API Explorer. But this access token that you get over here, if you select user token, you get an access token over there. This is what they call a short-lived access token. Okay, so it's an access token that is only viable good for an hour. So if you're going to use this token, you can use it directly on the Graph API Explorer, you can use it directly on Postman, but it's going to be valid for an hour. After an hour, this access token is going to expire, and you need to come back here and generate another one. So you need to generate an access token every single hour. So clearly, this is not going to work if you're going to write Python code with that access token, because this code we want to automate and when I run it for like days and days on end. So what you need is you need to get a long-lived token which is viable for more than an hour. Okay. And inside of the documentation, all right, they explain the sort of how to get a long-lived access token, and we discussed this in detail in last week's video. Okay, so if you go through the timestamps from last week's video, and you can go through how to get a long-lived access token. But basically, in simple terms, very very quickly, you need to do a code request with your short-lived access token and exchange it for a long-lived access token. So you need to first of all grab the short-lived token, and then you need to use this API URL endpoint to exchange the short-lived one for the long-lived one. Okay, and then when you get this long-lived one, it is at least valid for 60 days as opposed to 1 hour, and then you need to use that one that is valid for 60 days inside of your code. Okay, so you can either manually hard code it in here, or you can put it in your config file. And if you put in your config file, make sure you import your config file at the top. And in our case, we have it in our config file, and this is an access token that we've exchanged. It's now valid for 60 days, and so every 60 days we have to go back and refresh it. So this code that you're running after 60 days, it won't work anymore because the access token is going to have expired. And by the way, when you do your access token exchange, it does tell you how long it's going to be valid for, right? So you can check that number of seconds and make sure that maybe you code it into your Python programming. So that's another step. That's your homework. So you can check this number of seconds, and then you can code it into your Python programming to rerun this function and get a new one every 60 days, because all you need is a short-lived token to get the long-lived one. But I don't know how you'd get the short-lived one inside of your code. So either way, I think Facebook wants you to come back here and get a short-lived token, so you can exchange it for the long-lived one in 60 days. All right, so basically that's the access token that you're going to put in there inside of your code. Then once you've done that, then you're going to do your post. Okay, you're going to post to that URL, and this is your payload. And keep in mind, again, the payload that we're sending is the URL, the caption, and the access token. The caption in Instagram, you can have it as long as you like it. I think in the documentation it says 2,000 characters, but I'm not sure that it's, you can double check that. But you have a little bit more leeway than on Twitter, where you only have 160 characters. I think you can go up to 2,000 characters. So you can write everything that you want in there, include all of your hashtags. You can put up to 30 hashtags. So that is also applicable within the API, that you can put up to 30 hashtags. So you can have this as long as you like it, 2,000 characters, 30 hashtags. I'm going to include the quote in there. and then you do the access token, and then basically you send that that URL. And once you've done that, you're gonna get back the ID. Remember, this is in 2 stages. Okay, when we did it over there on Postman, we did 2 different requests. We have to do the exact same thing. So inside of my Python code, what I have in there is that once I get I send this post request, I'm gonna get a response. Okay, so that response text, okay, I need to have a look at that. And instead of that response text, I'm gonna JSON load it, and make sure you import a JSON at the top. All right, I'm gonna JSON load that response, and once I've JSON loaded it, I'm gonna check if there's an ID in there. All right, so there's many ways you can do this. You can either check if an ID exists, or you can check if the response was 200 response, which means everything went well. But I think this also works because I know if there's an error, you don't get an ID in the response. Okay, so if there's an ID in the response, that means most likely we didn't get an error, and then we need to get that ID. That ID is the creation ID. Okay, so I'm doing like a check for if the ID exists, and if it exists, I'm gonna call it creation ID, and then I'm going to do the second post request. And the second post request is a different URL. Instead of the media URL that you have at the top there, this one is media publish. Again, you just put in your Instagram user ID, and then we're going to put in your creation ID. So this code in here is the same as content publishing. Is the second part over there. You put your creation ID, but on the documentation, it doesn't tell you that you need to put in your access token as well, but you need to put in your access token also inside of the payload. And the nice thing about when you're sending it like this using the Python requests library, make sure you import requests at the top. You don't have to worry about URL encoding because you're sending it as a JSON, but on the other side, they'll be able to get it out. So it doesn't matter. This is, if you write it like that, you'll be okay. And you put in your access token again. This should be a long-lived token. If you're gonna write Python code, you're not gonna be able to do it with a short-lived token for an hour. This code is gonna be running over a schedule for at least a month, 2 months. And I think 60 days was how long is that? That's 2 months. That's more than enough. You can just put a reminder on your phone to refresh this every 60 days to make sure you get a new token. Then once you've done that, you're going to post the second URL, and then you're going to print the result. Okay, I'm not going to run this code. Trust me, it works. I've tested it off camera. But I'll try and see if I can't put this on GitHub for you, especially even the codes for last week. I'll try and put them all on GitHub, and if I do, I'll link them in the description below. But otherwise, I think if you watch the videos, you have enough content to actually be able to write the code yourself, because I go through it in great detail. Okay, so this is now inside of a function. If you run this function, it will post that image into your Instagram page. Okay, now the last part of this lecture that what I wanted to discuss is how to schedule this. All right, I spent a lot of time last week discussing scheduling the posts on your Instagram, so that it will post something like regularly. It will do it regularly. Now there are 2 stages in doing that. The first thing is that you need to be able to run the Python code continuously. So I need to be able to run it continually, and then I need like a scheduling library to help me to schedule. And then after that, I also need to I need to run it continually, and then I need a schedule library. Now to run the code continuously, if you go to your virtual private server and you just say Python Instagram.py, okay, if I'm on the server and as soon as I exit the server, that code is going to stop running. So I need to find a way to run it continuously even after I've exited the server. And how you do that, you use a library called Screen. All right, and you can install Screen on Ubuntu, and there's a lot we've discussed about that in last week's video. Okay, so have a look there, and I also have a link in last week's video where you can install and get Screen onto your virtual server, especially if it's on Ubuntu, and run the code off of Screen. That's the first part. The second part is the scheduling and library. Okay, so the scheduling library is also very simple. You just sort of pip install schedule, okay, and then you're going to import it at the top. And then I'll take you through how you would do it. So you import schedule at the top, and then you're going to say, for example, schedule every Monday at a certain time, schedule a post. Schedule every Tuesday at a certain time, schedule a post. Or you can even say schedule every day, whatever it is. And then this what you do over there, this is the function name. So if your function name, for example, was post Instagram code like that, okay, you would say schedule every Monday at 8:10, you would post the name of that function over there. All right, so I would post Instagram code. All right, but I'm going to erase that. But so whatever it is, the function that you want to run, you would schedule it at a certain time on a certain day of the week. Okay, and you can access. There's a lot more discussion that we have over the scheduling library in last week's video, so you can have a look at that. But basically, that's how you would do it. Every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, pick the time, and then at the bottom you'd say while true, schedule run pending time sleep.1, which means it will sleep for 1 second between every schedule, and then it will just run your functions on schedule. And then if you get something like this and you put it over your screen and you run it over screen, this function is going to just run continuously until you stop it. Okay, so it's going to run continuously until you stop it. The nice thing that I like about this is, if, for example, you were trying to schedule something on Facebook and you had some error, that would not necessarily crash a program. That would just that would be the error in that function, okay? And then the next scheduled appointment would continue as scheduled, all right? So that's why within my functions, I always try to, where was I? If something didn't go through, always try and, write code that, catches exceptions and catches errors. So in this specific case, what you could do is that you could run this whole function inside of a try-catch block. So it's not really try-catch in Python. It's more like, try except, so you would run it like this. The way you would write it is that you would say, try something, right? And then you would run the function over there, whatever the name of the function. So you say try, you would run this function like that, all right? So you run that function, all right? And then you would say except, okay, except, and then if there's an exception, you would then do something. So in my case, especially when I'm scheduling stuff over time, you could say, if there's an exception, send an SMS, send an email to me. You can write code for the thing to send you an email, send an SMS, so that every time a post didn't go through. If you're using stuff like Later and in Hootsuite, it always alerts you when a post didn't go through. So within your function, you could put the try catch in here as well. So you could like take all of this, right, like that, all right, and you could put it inside of a try like that, and then you could paste it in there and then accept. Okay, so you would have try accept, all right, and then you would like print something. There was an exception, but obviously that's not going to help you. Maybe you would say, send email, whatever, and you put your email address, admin, whatever, at skolo.online, and then you would say, try to do that. And if there's a problem, send me an email. And then the send email, obviously this is a function you haven't created. Sorry. This is a function you haven't created. You would create the function at the top there. You would say, def send email and address, all right, and then you would put logic to send an email in here, all right. And if you don't know how to write an email, for example, this is not complicated. I've got lots of videos on my channel showing you how to use the email functionalities, how to send an email. This is very simple in Python. Google it, check on Stack Overflow, whatever, figure out, or maybe send an SMS. There's also a video I've done on how to send an SMS with Twilio, whatever it is. Just make sure that you inform yourself, you know when something goes wrong inside of your code, okay? So I'm going to remove that for now, and I leave that as it is. And guys, thank you for watching. Try this code out. I designed these lectures that you can follow along and do as I do. And if you have issues, please leave a comment in the description below. In the comment box below, and I'll try and get back to you and assist you where I can. And see you guys again next week.